Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to Big Brother Fiore Week 4 cast assessment. So this week, Rich won HOH. He nominated Brianna and Mickey. Ferg won the veto, did not use the veto. Brianna took the doubles deal, where her vote cannot be burned, and she sacrificed her vote burner. I guess we'll do our usual question. So, do we think this was a good HOH week for Rich?
Um, I can go first. I think no. Ultimately, I think two things. One, I think Rich handled this HOH like it was Final Seven, and it's like, oh well, it's obvious that she has to do Brianna and Mickey. I'm just going to do it. Just going to roll with the punches like it was super obvious. Like in the pre-jury stages, it's more important, I think, who you don't nominate than who you do. And he just played it really safe and really predictable in a way that in no way improved his game, and if anything, worsened his relationships with some people and made him even more of a target, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's funny because I think during Sarah's HOH, I was like, wow, that was a pretty bad HOH. And I feel like, considering the fact that Rich is working with her, you would think he would, learn from her mistakes. And I don't feel like he did. I feel like this is even worse than Sarah's HOH. And I think it's really funny to be like, oh, the mistake that Sarah made is, why would you nominate Brianna and target someone who is going to be, a little bit more noticeable and someone that's good at comps, and expect that, that's not going to, completely change the game. And then Rich just kind of did the same thing and targeted, oh, I'm going to put up Brianna and Mickey because, they're really close and that's threatening. To set, a really bad precedent for them, because they made a bigger deal about, hypothetically, I have the power to get out who I want to because they have, too close of a relationship or whatever. And now I think that's something that people are going to be looking for. I think that's going to become, a reason to nominate people. And I just think that's really funny because he kind of created the problem that he has with them. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Shimon. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't have my pronunciation notes with me. Who was like, you're the one that lied to them, and then now you're the one putting them up. And it's like, I just think they're being really careless. And I think that this was really silly because now you're just going to create a huge rivalry between yourself and Mickey. And you're going to create, more buzz about, people paying attention to people who are working together. I don't know if that made any sense, but I just think this was a terrible HOH. And I don't really see any way that, it was done, tactfully. I don't really see a lot of ways that it's benefiting them. Yes, Brianna is leaving, but, at what cost?
Yeah. I don't know. I hate to have an edgy perspective on this, but I think it's important when talking about Rich's HOH. This is his first game, his first HOH. He's been in the game for 2 weeks, and he was bold enough to put up 2 power players. And I think even though obviously they're very rootable and we all want to see Brianna and Mickey do really well, I think, and maybe it wasn't the best for his game, I do have to say it's impressive to see bold game decisions being made. And so I think that should be said. But on the same token, I do agree, it's kind of the same thing as Sarah, where Brianna has proven to be a good competitive, good at comps. And so maybe putting her up initially wasn't the best move, but getting her out, I think, is good for him. And it is good for his alliance because it is someone who is good at comps, doesn't like him, and is now no longer in the equation. So I don't think it was he didn't handle it the best way, I don't think. Especially since he floated around Lana's name a lot. And I think now she's going to be onto him. And I think a lot of people who are close with her are kind of onto him now. So I think like the net result was good, but he just didn't go about it the best way. That's just
Yeah,
my
that's
opinion.
fair. That's fair, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have an opposing opinion to the earlier one. Well, I don't think he handled it best, and I think he's more similar to Austin in the way that he threw out multiple names, and looking at Brianna's goodbye speech, she's calling it out, where she says he named Lana and Adeline. So I think he was messy. And I think that's a really common trend with these HOHs where, but I think his objective was good. I think his noms made sense for him. Like, Mickey, Brianna were both going to nominate him. I believe they both said that. So, it wasn't like that. I just think that he handled it poorly a little bit. And something that Ali said, which makes sense, is earlier on, you don't want to show all your cards, and he basically within 10 minutes of his HOH, everyone knew nonsense, basically.
Mhm.
And I feel like if he was to be more like, not anonymous, but like neutral in quotes, like pretended he was like wanting to hear everyone out more, I think he could have got him through this week without less scratches on him. But it's not a bad result. You got Brianna out. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I also think. Sorry.
Oh.
I was just gonna. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I think what's difficult about this week is it's not that the end result is bad. It's just that like I don't know that the timing was smart, and I think this is something that I would have loved to have seen like in a couple of weeks from him. I think like considering that it's like week 4 and now people kind of know where like everybody stands. And, like, he has kind of made it known, like, who he was going after and things like that. I just think this is one of those things that could potentially hurt him in the future. Like, I think he, kind of like with Sarah, like, he ended up getting the blood on his hands for his alliance. Like, I don't think anybody else is going to be like, oh, like, the other people from marching band, like, they really wanted Brianna out and whatever. I just think it was, like, something that is going to, like, come back at him. Like, again, it's not that it was a bad decision. It's just that, like, you know, I think a lot of people in this game kind of, like to just go full throttle and, like, not necessarily, like, think about everything, which is super common in your first game. So I think it's unfortunate because it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it could hurt him pretty soon. And that's going to be interesting to watch.
Something which Nicholas said, which I think is worth saying, because I think I did come in like hot, being like, Rich is HOH, blah, 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 blah. But I think part of the problem is Rich's game experience so far has been, all of his allies have been HOH. He had never had an HOH not be what he wants it to be. And I think that means he's not prepared for when it's not his allies HOH, which is fair because he's never experienced that. But I think he's on the kind of thin ice where if Mickey was HOH, or honestly a lot of people, Elise, Shimon, apparently Jakey's annoyed at him, Lana if it gets out that Rich said her name, like he's just creating these things that will be traced back to him so fast that it's real risky.
Yeah, have y'all read Brianna's goodbye speech then?
Yeah, was there something Nicholas was going to say, though, first?
Oh, yeah, just really quickly. I was just going to say that this was the first HOH, excuse me, who won HOH who probably could have been in danger this week. I think the first 3 were people who we said, oh, well, they didn't really need to win it, blah, blah, blah. But I think had power gone into the wrong hands, like, he definitely could have won up. He almost won up last week. So I think, like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to chip in and say, like, if he didn't try as hard, second place is Mickey. Mickey was getting nominated. Like, I think she said that. So I think like what you're saying is right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Back to what were we talking about?
Brianna's
I was just trying to relate it to like what y'all were saying, which is about I guess Rich's HOH, because I feel like she's gonna put it on paper, literally a lot of what he's done. Because apparently he told her she's not the target early on, and then she's calling him out for naming Lana as a potential replacement nominee, Adeline as a replacement nominee, Lana as an initial nom. So I feel like if she actually goes through and posts that, Rich is gonna be in trouble, and he can't play in two HOHs. So while I agree that like he needed this probably, he's gonna be. Is what Ali said. He's not used to not having any power, and playing from the bottom, I think reflects a lot of your capital in the game because you're in a more vulnerable position. And I think he's unfortunately not going to be able to come back once he actually hits a bottom. But who knows?
Yeah, I think we said this on a excuse me, previous cast assessment that when Jacob left and sent his like little like grave speech, like that definitely set a precedent because every single person's well, there's only been two other people, but all three of them now have sent like a well thought out, like long, lengthy message. And I can't help but feel that as time goes on, it's gonna lose its impact. Like especially like I don't think people are gonna read all of Brianna's. Like I tried to read all of it and I was just like, oh, it's so much. Um and like I think it's fun and I think there is a lot of good tea in it. But it's like if this keeps happening every week where the person sends like a long like document or like a long like thousands of words, I think it's going to start to lose its impact. Maybe it hasn't quite yet, but I think in the next few weeks people are going to be like, "Oh, well, fuck it. They're just the evictee. Like I'm sick of it," you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually I was about to say the exact same thing. I think it's crazy that this is becoming like a thing, and it's week 4. Like this is usually a funeral message is like usually quite rare and like can create a lot of like drama. It can be super like impactful on like the rest of the game. But I definitely agree that the more often that it happens, the less and less people are going to pay attention. And especially with Brianna, like I think, she's super sweet and super likable, but what she struggled with and the reason she's leaving is because she was like a little bit too much for some people. And so I think maybe doing a message like this is not going to work as well as it would for someone else when it is so long. And, I tried to read it as well, and I think it has a lot of really good points. But unfortunately, once someone is evicted, I think that their opinions are taken like with a grain of salt because people will be like, oh, well, they're gone. So I definitely agree that like while it may feel like you're getting the last word, people won't necessarily like consider it as much as you would like.
If she like posted it like earlier today or last night.
Yeah, or if she had gone to people individually in her last 24 hours and gone on call and been like, here's what's going on, like one-on-one, I think that would have had the most. But, I think it'll have an impact. Like, people will read it and people will gain something from it. I just think, like, 3 weeks from now, people are going to be like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to read this. Like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think it's going to, I think it will work for the people that are willing to listen. Like, I don't think, the marching band or the people that are working with Rich are going to read that and be like, oh, I read this and now I trust Rich less. I think it will help for, the other people in the house.
Hopefully.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a really good point to bring up. I think just to touch on the general dynamics of the game, I don't know about you guys, but it feels a lot like an actual season of Big Brother where there's like a core alliance, and then they each have like one or two people. So then like their real alliance and their loyalties is really like 8 to 10 people, and everyone thinks that they're a part of it, and everyone thinks that like they're like the insider in the situation, and so and it just feels like Brianna, Mickey, Adeline, like maybe Lana to some extent, are just kind of like sitting here. Like every week, they're the names that come up. Every week, except for last week, they're in danger. Um, and it's kind of like hard to watch, especially watching like Janelle and Kaser on BB22 at the same time as watching this. It's like, oh, like I don't know what their move is. And I think but I do think, on the same token, that there is a lot of infighting, even within like the marching band group, because Haley submitted a DR where she was like, "I don't like Austin's attitude. He's kind of an asshole. Like he tells me to win a comp. I don't want to. Like all this stuff." And then we know that her and Daly like don't get along, and so I think that should they come into power once all of these like maybe one more of the outsiders is gone, I could definitely see them turning on each other. Or even next week. Because I feel like everyone was like united against Brianna mostly because she was good at comps. So it made sense. Whereas Mickey can like reintegrate herself better.
Well, I feel like that's the problem with. Sorry, I'm not going to say a long thing. I was going to say, like, I think that's kind of, again, the problem with this decision at this time, is it was just a little premature, I feel like, because now who are they going to target?
I was going to say the same thing, so correct. But I was going to say, I feel like there's going to suddenly be a point where, like, people are like, this record's boring, we're going to do something different, and we're going to change something. And then someone like Adeline is going to be, like, sitting pretty at Final Six. Somehow, not Adeline necessarily, but just someone random that was so on the outs is going to be sticking around for ages.
Yeah, it feels very, I know I say this, I feel like it's so funny that, like, there's some things that are said like every week, but it's because they're very true. Like it does feel like a real Big Brother game, and it does remind me a lot of Ore, where I feel like this is going to keep happening, where they're going to go after like bigger players, and the only problem with that is that those players will also come after you, and then who's going to do well? People that are quiet and people that are like staying out of it, and then they'll be left to kind of fight it out at the end. Like it's just really interesting. Which, speaking of quieter people, do we want to touch on Ferg's involvement?
Oh, 100%.
So what was he like? He was chosen for POV. He played. He supposedly was going to throw, and then he did so much better than everyone else. And then he did not use POV. So do we think that was smart? Are we soft?
It's also, I mean, I did appreciate that Ferg became like more on the radar this week because we've talked about before how we've never mentioned his name. I think his problem was he came on the radar in like the worst possible way. Like he won a comp he didn't need to. He demolished the competition, and he kind of his middle spot was like put on blast. Like he promised Mickey and Rich opposite things, and he had to break a promise. And I think he ultimately made the safe choice, which was to leave on to say Mickey was likely going to be saved, it wouldn't matter. But I think the safe choice is not a good long-term choice because it makes him look like Rich's minion, and I could see him being the pawn against Rich at some point. And I think while before he could have been seen as a wildcard vote for anyone to pick up, the fact that he was Rich's house guest choice pick, he steamrolled the veto and did what Rich wanted, would be a big red flag to me as an outsider.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, I was really surprised that he so quickly decided he wasn't going to use it. I mean, I think it's ultimately the right decision, but considering that, like, Mickey thought that they had a good relationship, it's really interesting to watch him be like, I'm not going to use it, and hopefully Mickey can still be okay with me. I think that's a little bit naive to like kind of turn on someone who trusted you, not save them, and know that they're going to stay. It's a little risky. So I think that will be really interesting.
Yeah.
She's not going.
Yeah, I wanted to echo that. Yeah, it was kind of interesting how quick he came to that decision, going from like, oh, I don't know, like I'm throwing, to literally being like, yep, no use. Like, I think his spot, like he was in one of the best positions in this game. Everyone, like he was on the good side of like the people in the minority, the people in the majority, like, and he kind of sold his soul to the majority this week by very quickly. I mean, I think, and Mickey like is one of the most perceptive people in this game. Like the fact that he messaged her so quickly after the results, being like, "Sorry, can't use it," like when she was already suspicious of him being Rich's choice, is not good for him should the minority get HOH. Even though I don't think he would be targeted, I think now he's just going to be privy to less like information from that side. But I will say, I think he did make the right decision for his game. If he had used it, that would have been like suicide in the game. Like, because the people in the majority side, especially Rich, they're very, not petty, but like, if you don't do what they want, they're coming after you. Like, all the people who voted against them in the first round, even if it was unknowingly, like, they're the targets still. And so I can see why, like, even though the viewer in me wanted him to use it, like, it was the right call at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I don't agree with that. I wanted him to use it, but I think he wanted Brianna out. I feel like if Adeline went up, I think Adeline could have went home, honestly. Given that I feel like there is like secret supporters of Brianna, like Daly, like I think Renee's Amanda too. So it's like I think he made the right decision. I do agree. I think he used it poorly. I just don't know why he didn't like throw harder. Like I get a revival 2.5 minutes would have gotten me like 5th place. But like if I was throwing, I would go for at least 7 and like get like 3 minutes of penalty and be like I kept messing up or something. And no one's gonna like bat an eye at it. I think he should have won, but I think he made the right decision with winning.
Yeah, I think the other thing I just wanted to briefly mention is that his other like strategy in the game was to throw comps and not seem like a comp beast, since in other games he was very good at competitions, and people started to clock that, especially Mickey, like just talking around. And so when he was like, "Oh, I'm so bad at puzzles, I'm not gonna win, I suck at comps," and then he like literally bodied that really blows up some of his strategy.
I totally agree with that. And also, like, I am curious kind of like what you guys think about like Mickey and like what her position's going to be like following this, because like I feel like she's going to be really interesting to watch, because this majority alliance is definitely like classic Big Brother, where they're trying to just like steamroll the game, and they're very like, I really agree with what you were saying, Nicholas, about how like it's very like their way or the highway. Like it's like very like they want you to do what they want without like acknowledging that everyone's kind of playing their own game. And so I think that they're not going to let go of this Mickey thing, and she's probably going to like become like a target. But Mickey's not like an easy person to get out, I would say. Like she's not like bad at forming relationships. She's not like hard for people to talk to. She's not bad at competitions. Like I think she could go soon, but she also could like fight it out for a little while and like take someone down with her. So I think it's always really interesting to see an alliance target a strong player like that, because like I don't think it's going to be easy for them. I think it's going to be kind of like a battle. It reminds me a lot of like Anna Jane, how like why would you target someone like Anna Jane who is like really good at comp? She's a great social player. Like I don't think it's going to be an easy win for them, and I think that like this will just kind of set the tone for the rest of the season, I feel like.
I was going to say that I find watching Mickey really satisfying because she is one of, if not the most competent player in the cast. Like she's so socially perceptive. Socially perceptive. There we go. She's so socially perceptive, but like it's so interesting watching like the best player in the cast being in the worst position of the cast. And I just love watching her hustle with like her playing dumb to Austin, which like I which I sometimes reminds me of like how I would talk to Dylan, and like just chucking everything at the wall. I think is so satisfying. My only hope is that she seems real dejected, which I understand because Brianna's going home. I hope she can pick herself up and like get rejuvenated and get a second win in this game, because I think she could last. Because too many people think they're the person that's scooping her up, that everyone's trying to scoop her up.
Yeah. Well, there was also, who was that? There was also an alliance made this week with Brianna and Daly and who else?
Marsden and Amanda.
Was that smart to make an alliance with someone that was like pretty for sure going home? Especially because didn't they tell the marching band right away?
Well, I mean, I think that wasn't that made before veto. Like, I think given Brianna's veto history, it could have been like a good scene to be that if she could have been born again.
Yeah.
But I still think it was like, if you know she's the main target, like, why not wait? Because, like, and I think a lot of people already know about it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I just
Yeah.
wonder, like, why not add Mickey? Like, if you know one of them's going to go home, why would you not have taken that opportunity to, like, I don't know. I think that was just, like, it could have been good, but I think it's going to blow back.
Yeah.
Because Amanda told Sarah, who told the marching band, and Daly already told Elise, like it's already out there.
Yeah.
And then Elise mentioned how Amanda didn't tell her, so she's a little sus with Amanda. Something I want to say about the Mickey thing, which is what I'm most interested with her right now, is while she is a big target, I don't have worries for her, because logically, everyone she's gonna go up against, within reason, she's gonna stay against. It's gonna either be her, Lana, her, Adeline, her, or Maslin. I would say the only one of those three that stand a really good shot at staying is like Lana. And even then, I don't think it's. So, I think Mickey's gonna be fine, but I think she's gonna inevitably get taken out. It's just, I don't know who she's gonna be up against, because I don't think it'll be soon. But, who knows?
Yeah. I guess the last thing to touch on is the Devil's Lair deal and how Brianna just jumped on it and took it. What is everyone's thoughts?
I mean, I kind of mentioned this before to you guys. I think, like, I thought it was really funny to watch. I don't know, like, strategically if it made any sense. Like, it was funny to see her take it from them so that they couldn't have it, which I feel like, you know, maybe petty, but also isn't the worst thing. But I do like that she took it because I'm sick of everyone not taking it. And she did it so quickly that people were, like, bitter that she got it. So I'm hoping it will make people more open to taking deals in the future.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I stand it. Like, I think it's fun. I don't know about it. I think it's fun.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Daly made a good point that, like, why would you take a burn voter when you, like, are nominated? But, like, does it really matter? I mean, if she's going, she might as well take it with her.
Yeah, it kind of gave me like Aika BB Can 2 energy. Like she was like, "Fuck you! Like I'm leaving anyways. I'm taking this with me." Like, so I don't know. I think Brianna leaving this week is kind of sad, but I think it's just like the inevitable. Like once she started going up the first like 2 weeks, it was like, I don't see a good. Like I don't think there's anything she could have done to like make this not happen. Like I think with this cast and the dynamics of this game, like this was about as far as she could go. Like maybe further if she won comps, but like it just But she did her best, and I think she's a strong player. She just got caught up, and went pre-jury.
Well, and the dynamics and all of that, I think it wasn't necessarily a great cast for like her style. And like, so unfortunately, like, I totally agree. I don't know how much more she could have done. Like, I would like to have seen her around a little bit longer, but yeah, it just be like that sometimes.
Well, especially like, first of all, it's like obviously really unfair that the majority want to isolate 5 people, but I didn't them targeted them for those reasons. But I think it's just like all about the cast, yeah. Like I'm not saying it's a bad cast, it's just for her. I think if she was in a season like on the Passio, I feel like a revival. I thought she could have done a lot better, but I don't think her early move speaks for. I think she's a great character. I think she's honestly a good player too. So it's unfortunate to see her go early.
Yeah. Well, does anyone else have any comments or things that we should talk about this week? Oh, I forgot. Player of the week. Oh my god.
That was what you to do. Anybody have one that they want to start?
I can go first. My player of the week, I kind of like the opposite of like the one that like room for improvement of the week. It's like the one who improved the most this week, which I think is Daily. Just because like I woke up this morning, I was looking through DRs, and like 3 different people were like, "Oh, Daily approached me and like tried to like squash our beef, and we had like a good conversation." Like I think he did a kind of apology tour, which is good because I think he was on thin ice. And I can still see him going pre-jury, but I just think he did some good work socially to get the game.
I'll go last because I feel like Nicholas and Zach always go last, so you guys can go.
Are we doing player of the week first, or
Yeah, player of the week. I was gonna say Daily.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna say Elise. I've said her before, but I just feel like she's playing the middle game really well. I think she like helped Mickey with like the Hashi puzzles, which got her really in good. I mean, they bond naturally, but like it was like the right thing to do. She did that, and then she's kind of clocking Amanda, not telling her things. Like I just feel like if Mickey wasn't nominated, I would have said her, but like I feel like the second best perception in the game like is definitely Elise. Like she's very woke, and she's willing to like be a little bit of a snake and work with both sides to go forward.
I want to say Mickey, because even though she was nominated, I honestly think Brianna going, and this week as a whole, is going to help Mickey a lot more than it feels like. I could be wrong, she could go next week, but I think that this will like light a fire under her ass. I think it helped her wokeness be more woke, and I think that she's given recover. So I kind of want to say Mickey, like, I don't think she's a player of the week, but I think given that Daily and Elise are taken, I want to give Mickey some credit. I think it's going to help her a lot.
I was actually going to say Mickey, so I agree with that, but I will say, I'll say Shimon, because he was HOH last week, and I think sometimes that can create a lot of attention, and it can put you in danger for like the weeks to come. And I think that he like transitioned out of power well and kind of stayed out of the drama this week, even though it wasn't necessarily what he wanted to happen. So I think he did a good job.
I can go first for improvement since I went first for one picks, but I mean player of the week.
Nicholas,
What?
would you like to start us off?
Oh, I think Zach was gonna say something.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
I just want to see, Olivia, like why you would have said Mickey as well. Like, what was your reasoning?
I don't think her being nominated was because of anything that she did. So I think that
Mhm.
that being said, it like she is still playing well and she is still being perceptive. I also think that if she had reacted the wrong way to being nominated, it could have been her that went home. And I think that she did a good job of like, although she is frustrated, we saw her kind of saying like, okay, I don't want to push like Ferg anymore. Like I know like I've said as much as I can and I'm going to stop, even though she wasn't happy with what he was doing. So I think that she handled being nominated as well as she could. And she handled like losing her closest ally as well as she could, which is really hard to do, I think.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think that's valid. I think Ferg said something like he feels like Mickey's still trusting of him, just distant a little bit, which is reasonable. And I think Mickey's been really good at like masking a lot of truth in
Mm-hmm.
a way, just being like toning down a lot of what she needs to. So yeah, I agree.
Okay. So biggest need for improvement player. I guess I'll go first. I think for me this week it's Jakey. And that's because I think he got caught up a lot this week in like beef with Brianna that like was one sided and just really weird. Like that he was like, yeah, bitch, like you're gone. Like, and I think like I don't want to see him play that kind of game, because I think he is like a really good player from what I've seen, and like that's a very dangerous like mentality to have when you play Big Brother. Like if he like the energy that he had towards Brianna, if he like moves that to say like Adeline or someone else, like that can get you out of the game. If you're like really, really pointed towards someone, you lose focus on everyone else in the game. And so I guess like it's not that he's the worst player or anything. I just think that he has the most room to like get better next week.
I could see that. I have one. I'm going to say Amanda because
Mm.
I really I really like Amanda and I really would like to see her do well. I just need her to think clearly and I need her to like take a step back because it's really hard to watch her, and I feel like we talk about this often. It's really hard to watch her play with Sarah, and I feel like if she was playing a little bit more for herself, she would be doing better. But she's getting herself kind of like stuck in these like situations because of her relationship with Sarah. And I think that she should be practicing a little bit more discernment because Sarah is not being truthful to her. She's not being an ally to her. She's messing up her game. And I am not sensing any like red flags from Amanda about that. And that is really dangerous. So I just need her to like kind of focus on herself a little bit more and focus on playing for herself, because even now that she created like another alliance, she told Sarah and then it got out, and then she got kind of like crap for it because then like I think it was Haley was like, oh, like why is she, was it Haley, who was it that was in the alliance? And
Elise.
anyway, oh yeah, Elise. Oh, Elise. So yeah, and then like created problems with that because she's just being way too loyal to Sarah, and I'm someone who is very guilty of constantly being way too loyal to people that I shouldn't be, and so I just want better for her, and I want to see her play for herself.
Okay.
I don't. This is kind of karma because I rushed and picked Daily, and then my room was going to be Amanda. I will say instead, I'm going to say Haley is the one I think room for improvement, because I think Haley's playing really, really well. I think she's really well positioned within her own side, and I feel like she's not going to be a target because she's a line of biggest. Like I'm talking, she's playing well, but My only thing is, I think she's very insulated of her connections. Like, she's very concentrated on the marching band and the marching band like doing really well and them all sticking together and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's gonna mean that she's not really connected for when the marching band gets blown up, if it does. Like, I feel like she needs. I would love to see her expand her avenues beyond that because she's so social and so likable.
If that's all, I don't know if I'm turning you off, sorry.
That's it, don't worry.
Okay, this might be straightforward. I think I want to pick Rich. Just because he's gonna be outgoing for 2 weeks, and while I think, like, again, he solidified his bonds with his alliance, I don't think there was any need for that. I think that he showed a lot of his cards, and I think that he was a little messy. So I think with 2 weeks of no HOH, and him not being really the best at comps, I think he's gonna struggle. And so I think, and I'm not dissing him. I think he's playing a good game overall. I just think he's gonna struggle. And I think there's room for what he does.
Could see that one.
Okay.
Is that everyone?
Yep.
Oh.
Alright, well, I guess that's about it for week 4. We'll see what happens next week.